Hi, let's talk about sampling frame. Let's look at an example. Let's say that I am a high school student and I want to do a study in which, for my study, the target population or my study population are members of my high school football club. And let's say that I need to take 5 random members as sample for my study. And assuming that I do not know anybody from the club, how do I go about picking these 5 samples? So what I do is that I go and see the club advisor. I talk to him about my study, and then he gave me a list, which is the list of all the members in my club. This list, it has all the names of all the names of the members in the club and their respective class. And this list, or the list of every member in my high school football club, is what we call as my sampling frame for the study. And all the people or all the members in this list are my target population. Now, with this sampling frame, with this list being my sampling frame, I can now get that 5 random members to be my sample for the study. So what is a sampling frame? Is that a sampling frame is the list from which units are drawn for the sample, and it is usually taken from a pre-existing list. I will talk more about the second point next example, but before that, I just want to talk want to show quickly that for this example, previous example, let's call it example 1, because my target population are members of my high school football club, and because I have a list of all the members in the club as my sampling frame. So it means that my sampling frame is of equal size to the target population. Um, that's all about example 1. Let's move on to the next example. Let's say that we have country X, and in country X there is a description here. Say that in country X, single working men from the age of 18 to 25 with a monthly salary of less than $1,000 are eligible for one of $500 government financial aid, let's call it GFA. And say that you want to do a study in country X, and your target population are single working man from the age of 18 to 25 with monthly salary of less than $1,000 in country X. What is the sampling frame of your study? From the first example, you might say, okay, it's the list of every single working man aged 18 to 25 with a monthly salary of less than $1,000 in country X. Although this is an ideal sampling frame because it contains everyone in the target population, like in the first example, there is a problem in which that this list doesn't exist. And what I mean by doesn't exist is that, not even the government has this list. It's not a ready to use list because we like some people don't have their salary info in any documented system. So it means that a list of everyone is impossible to get. And to use this list as the sampling frame, we need to make this list from scratch, which can consume lots and lots of valuable time and resources. And honestly, it's impossible to even do this. So we cannot use that as our sampling frame. That's why I say that usually we use a pre-existing list, a list that is ready to use as our sampling frame. And for this example, we need to find an alternative good sampling frame. And luckily for us, remember that this description here that states that single working men from the age of 18 to 25 with a monthly salary of less than $1,000 are eligible for one of $500 GFA. We can use the list of every person that receives the $500 one of GFA as our sampling frame. It's a good sampling frame here. We cannot use the applicants list because there might be an entry of people that are not in the target population in that list. So we must use a list that has already been screened out, which only contains people that are in our target population. But one thing that to remind here is that to use this list as sampling frame, we must know that since we don't know if everyone in the target population apply for the GFA, we have to assume that some in the target population didn't apply for the GFA. And what it means is that now our sampling frame size, or the size of sampling frame, is smaller than the size of our target population. And so you see that from the two example I've shown you, ideally we want a sampling frame like in example one, where our sampling frame size is equal to the target population size, which means we have a list of everyone. But realistically, we usually ended up having to use or having to resort to a sampling frame like in example 2, where our sampling frame is much smaller than our target population. But even then, we have to make sure that we choose a good sampling frame, because choosing a good sampling frame is very critical in making sure that our study gives out accurate result on the population, because it is where we draw our sample from, and a sample drawn from a bad sampling frame may not represent the population of interest. So I hope that clarifies the what is a sampling frame and what is considered as a good sampling frame. I hope that helps. Thank you.